Everybody, welcome to Katie in the Morning and welcome to Friday. So I'm not gonna lie, it's a little chilly out there today. I had a little bit of frost on my window this morning when I woke up, but I wasn't very happy to see that. But hey, the weekend is almost here, so can't go into that on a low note. One of the things I'm gonna talk to you guys about today is dementia care and memory loss care. It's kind of some ways to like redirect them and kind of some of the ideals you're going to want to go into, especially if you know that you're working in a memory care unit on a daily basis. There's lots of education out there. One of the ones that I love specifically is Teepa Snow. She does such a wonderful job of kind of connecting with dementia care patients and Alzheimer's patients, kind of teaching how to kind of step into the world, which is something that we have to keep in mind when we are working in memory care, is that we are accommodating to them. So one of the things that you kind of want to avoid in different situations is trying to orientate them to time and date, what's happening now, what's happening here, because we don't know what period of their life they're living in on that day. They could wake up and be the 7-year-old them and, looking for mom and dad and that sort of thing. One of the things that is a general rule when it comes to dementia and memory loss care is when you're approaching them, make sure that you're doing it at an eye level and from the front. One of the findings of Alzheimer's and memory loss is that they start to get like a tunnel vision, where they can only see, they lose their peripheral vision and can kind of only see, it'd be like you're looking through a pair of goggles or binoculars and you only have that realm to look through. So when you're coming from the sides or from the back, memory or hearing loss is another thing they suffer from, so they may not hear you and they definitely cannot see you. Always approach with a smile in a calm voice, just to let them know that you're not threatening them or challenging them, so to speak. That's the number one tip I can give you. The next thing would be to orientate to their world, kind of step into what they're feeling and what they're experiencing on a day-to-day basis. For example, we have a resident that I work with at the facility that I work with, PRN, and every night after supper he is so worried about how he's going to pay for his meal. And one of the things that I tend to do is tell him, oh no, it's okay, today's Wednesday, so the Baptist church pays for meals for everybody on Wednesdays, and he's perfectly okay with it after that. Or tell them, your wife already paid for this, it comes with the room for the night, everything's included and it's already paid for, don't worry about it. Just to kind of lift that burden off their shoulders. The men in those days were very professional and gentlemanlike, and they hardly ever let women pay for anything. So I tended to gear towards the church paying for it, or the 4-H group, or the Girl Scouts, or something along those lines. And half the time they really don't know what day it is, or tell them this is a Christmas gift from the facility. Everybody's invited for a free meal. That's just one way to kind of bypass the challenge of arguing with them, telling them, it's part of your room, you live here, this included in your bill, and it'll be paid at the end of the month. Just avoiding that argument to begin with. I'll have a few more tips for you guys on the day-to-day care and ADLs when we come back after this break. Welcome back to Katie in the Morning. I'm Katie Page, Director of Member Relations at the National Association of Healthcare Assistants. And today we're talking about caring for those people that suffer from dementia, Alzheimer's, and memory loss. One of the things I said earlier in this segment is you kind of have to step into their world. Specifically, this applies to ADLs. When they wake up in the morning, they don't have that routine like you and I do, where they get up, they get dressed, eat breakfast, that sort of thing. They could wake up at a different time of day. They could sleep till noon and then want to get up. Really, we are definitely working on their schedule. So when it comes specifically to residents who are a little more combative or resistant with cares, one of the things you have to keep in mind is you can do this segment by segment. You could do in the morning when when they get up, you could wash their face and hands, and that may be all they let you do at that time period. But come back later, offer them the toilet frequently. If they're a person that refuses showers and baths on a regular basis, make sure they're getting that bed bath and that they have a clean brief on. Really, those are the only stipulations that state is really looking for, is to make sure that they're clean and dry and they're not in any kind of danger of developing wounds or pressure ulcers or anything like that. Infections, yeast infections with women is a big one when they're not getting their pericare done. But offer at different times of the day. There's different things you can do to get them to kind of do what you want on their terms. After lunch, say, hey, Susan, I noticed that you guys must have had spaghetti for dinner. I see a little bit on your shirt there. Your son's coming to visit later. Would you mind if we went and changed your shirt? Or, your daughter just brought in some new clothes. Do you want to go try them on? And, there's different ways that you can approach that and get everything done within that shift, but not necessarily all at once. Dementia care and Alzheimer's care, they have a very short attention span and they get bored very, very, very easily. I think you guys will probably all agree with me on that. But just kind of getting that different approach. You could change their socks at one time of the day. It doesn't matter when they get their teeth brushed as long as they get done during that shift. So you could get them up for breakfast. They eat, they do an activity, go back to their room for a nap, wake up, do their oral care when they get up. Say, hey, how's your mouth kind of feeling? Is it dry? Or we got this new toothpaste. Would you like to try it? Just even the mouth swab with toothpaste on it, just to kind of get that freshening and that bacteria out of their mouth is the most important part, because we did a segment a couple weeks ago about the risks of bad oral care. So that is one that I push. When it comes to activities, that just kind of tune into what they like to do. Women especially had their specific hair day on a certain day of the week, throughout their entire lives, where they went and got all gussied up and went out with their husband or went to church or went and saw the kids, or the kids came to the house. So when you're doing those activities, that can definitely be considered one-on-one time, is when you're doing their hair and makeup for them, painting nails. They love to get their nails painted. Majority of the memory care women would love for you to sit down and kind of chit chat with them about the gossip from church and that sort of thing. If they're thinking that you're their wife, or guys, if they're thinking that you're their husband, play that part for the day. Step into their world. Just kind of give them that little bit of comfort. Definitely don't take it to extremes. I'm not saying that, but sit down, have a conversation with them. How was your day? How are the kids feeling? What'd you do today? Did you go to the grocery store? If you're trying to get out of a situation, if a resident is darned and determined to find her husband, and we ran into this a few times with one specific resident at the last facility I worked at in Iowa. Every night after supper, that sundowners hit, and she was looking for her husband. Well, her husband passed away 8 to 10 years before this. But what we would tell her is, the car had a flat tire. He had to take it down to the mechanic, or he had to run to the grocery store and pick up some groceries for the house for dinner this Sunday, that sort of thing, just to kind of get their mind off it for a moment and then redirect them to a different activity. Lawrence Welk is a lifesaver in dementia care and Alzheimer's. That's what they grew up watching. I'm sure you've seen several documentations about music and memory and how it triggers, and residents tend to participate more when that familiar tune kind of settles in there and they know the song, and it's something that gives them comfort knowing that there's a familiarity around them. Like the midnight activities, if you have a resident up walking around, going from room to room, there's something that they're wanting or needing, whether it's toileting, a snack, changing, that one-on-one time. It could be somebody that worked overnights for a period in their life, and they could be kind of flashing back to that. Just kind of interact with them, give them something to do. I know that's not easy for overnight CNAs, as I've worked overnights myself before, and you have a whole list of things that you have to get done, and then there's call lights ringing and the nurse asking you to do a little extra here and there. Cleaning toilets, urinals, and commodes is my most favorite thing. Not really. But that's just stuff that has to get done. And don't be afraid to ask the residents to help you. Would you like to help me fold these napkins? Would you like to help roll the silverware for in the morning? Would you like to fold this load of laundry with me? Or just kind of let them know that it's something that's helping you out this generation love to help other people too. So if you tell them, I have so much to do, I don't know how I'm going to get it all done. Would you like to help me? Or would you have time to do this? Or untying knots and shoestrings. And there's just so much, so much. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. Do a little research about what they did as a generation on their downtime, playing cards. Scrabble is a huge one. Word puzzles, coloring books, anything to kind of help that hand-eye coordination. It's going to give you the time to get the other things done that you need to get done while still engaging that resident. I'm going to leave you guys on that note. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you right back here on Monday at 10 a.m. for Katie in the morning.